Welcome back. We're continuing our segment on generational transfer here at the R.A. Brown Ranch. And with me now is Donnell Brown. Donnell, thanks for spending a few minutes with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, the first question I have for you is, what was your immediate reaction after working all your life alongside all your brothers and sisters and family when Mom and Dad came and said, hey, it's time to split up the ranch?
It was a surprise to me. We had done some financial planning years ago with some of the land, but as far as dividing it out to the 4 kids, I was a bit surprised.
So when your folks came to you and gave you the assignment to devise a plan for splitting up the ranch, how did you and your siblings approach that?
Well, it was interesting. Dad said, all right, we're going to divide up the ranch, and you're more involved in the seed stock, so I think you'll get that, and Jody's more involved in the farming, I think we'll give him that. And Mom said, no, wait just a minute. We're giving this to them. Let's let them decide. And so I thought it was great wisdom on Mom's behalf, and it worked out well. Now, it was a bit
challenging.
To sit together and divide up a ranch that's been in the family now 5 generations. Yeah. But it was amazing, and it worked well, and we divided it up, and dividing the land was actually the easiest part.
So as you and your siblings began that process, was it just you and your siblings involved, or did you involve the entire family?
Mom and Dad just wanted the 4 of us kids in there to divide up the land. And so that's the way we did it. And, we met several times. We started each meeting with a prayer, and we analyzed the situation, and we didn't make it hastily. We would meet, we would wait, we would sleep on it. Mm-hmm. And, I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. And it all worked out very, very well.
Donald, tell us this. What were some of the challenges as you and your siblings walked through this process?
Well, anytime you start talking about the end of someone's life and passing it on, it's not a comfortable discussion. But Mom and Dad started that conversation, which made it a whole lot easier for us. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, Mom and Dad are in excellent health, and they just said, we want to pass this on now while we can each of you enjoy and pursue your dreams with your families and use your gifts and talents and interests. And so we're blessed by that. I don't know what it's like to lose a parent. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine going through this process of dividing up the family business along with the emotional drain of a loss of a loved one. Mm-hmm. And so, it's challenging, but I think it's so much easier to do it without that
extra burden.
Absolutely, without that burden, and being able to do it with clear mind, and Mom and Dad right there in case we need them to ask a question.
To referee.
That's right. So, I think it's important. One of the things that, Mom has always instilled in us in love, and that was very important as we went through this process. I can still remember as a child 2 things. One, Mom teaching us about 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Mm-hmm. And that ends with, these 3 things remain.
But the greatest of these,
faith, hope, and love. But you're right, the greatest of these is love.
Absolutely.
And the other thing I was remembering just this morning as I pulled out of the ranch entrance and onto the highway is I remember all 4 of us kids in the vehicle on Sunday mornings headed to town. Mm-hmm. And every time when we would turn by the ranch sign, Dad would look around and he'd say, I sure love my family. Mm. And those words just echo in my mind. And so they taught that to us from an early age. And I think that helped us in this process of dividing it up and keeping peace in the family, because that was higher priority than who gets this or who gets that. I think my brother Rob A. had some really good wisdom. He said, if any of us get exactly what we want, it's probably not fair.
Donald, looking back on the process, is there anything you'd do differently?
Looking back, I can't think of anything I would do differently. For us, it just worked out great. We weren't rushed. Mom and Dad kind of gave us their plans that they were ready to start doing the process, but it wasn't a rushed situation. We were able to meet, even though not all of us live right here on the ranch. We would meet once a month and discuss how we're going to divide this thing up, what we'll do with the land, what to do with the cattle, what to do with the minerals, all of those different things, and it worked out very well. I don't think I'd change a thing.
Well, Donald, this is the Cattleman and Cattleman Show, so I'd like to ask you a little bit about dividing the cattle. We discussed how you approached the land division, but dividing a set of registered seed stock that you've spent generations building is an emotional decision. Tell us about that.
We did the land first, and that was easy. The cattle, I've been back here on the ranch for 20-something years, working side by side with Dad on the seed stock side. And that's my passion. That's Kelly and I's passion, is seed stock. My older siblings, my 2 sisters and my brother, they love commercial cattle, they love stocker cattle, and they're good at it. That's their passion. That's what they want to do. Seed stock's not really their interest. And so as we looked at doing the cattle, what are we going to do? We could divide them up 4 ways. But it's going to be hard with 4 different breeds and not equal numbers of breeds and different values of the cattle. How do we divide them up? Since my siblings were more interested in commercial cattle, we talked about it and decided, one, Mom and Dad have poured their whole life into the seed stock program. We've been raising seed stock cattle since the 1890s. Why don't we let their life legacy live on through these cows as registered seed stock to the industry and be a blessing to the industry? And with that, help the cattle bring great value for what their seed stock value would be worth. And then if some of the family wants to buy a few out of the sale, that's fine, and we were very transparent by that. And then, so our hope was the cattle would live on, the industry live on with those cattle, Mom and Dad's legacy live on through the cattle, and that our siblings would probably have more money in their pockets to buy commercial cattle to stock their part of the ranch. And it worked out very well.
Tell us about some of the changes and some of the challenges from transitioning from a large multi-family operation to individual operators of your own ranch.
There are a lot of things that I hadn't done here on the ranch. My sister Betsy had always done the accounting. And so now Kelly and I are like, oh my goodness, there's a lot we have to learn. and so that was one of the challenging things in that transition is, you know, we're downsizing, we don't have as many cattle, we don't have as, and yet here Kelly and I, we're still going to sell 600 bulls each October. And we're doing that with the help of our cooperator team and because Mom and Dad gave us enough lead time to do some planning where we could buy some commercial cows, put embryos from our best donor cows, and rebuild the cow herd. Sure. And so it's worked out very well.
So what are your plans for the future?
Well, Kelly and I, we want to continue to be right here on the ranch in the house where we all grew up at our headquarters, keep having bull sales every fall. And well, I think as someone coined years ago, we want to keep raising cows, kids, and quarter horses.
Now looking forward 10 years from now, how will you gauge the success of the decisions you've made?
10 years from now, success to me will be defined if all our families are still doing what we love to do and we still have peace in the family and we are a family. That to me is success.
Thank you, Donnell, for all your candor and your insight. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we'll be back right after this.